Hello everyone and welcome back to FantasyFootballFix.com and to another edition of Eddie versus the Algorithm. This is where every week of the season so far I've been taking on the computer-generated team to see if I can score more points than it in each game week of the year. And now, of course, with game week 31 quite a distance away still, we're not going to do the Algorithm team on the free hit just yet. But what we are going to be looking at today is a wildcard draft for any of you who are considering playing the chip this week, if you've still got it in the bank, and having a look at the best possible team from the Algorithm and then the best possible team of my own. You can give me your verdict on whose is better down below in the comments. And of course, we can then compare and see, is it worth playing the wildcard chip now in game week 31? Or should you perhaps hold on to it for something like nearer a game week 36, where you can play your bench boost in the near vicinity? Once again, if you are new around here, please do feel free to subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. Just hit that red button down below. And of course, drop a like if you do enjoy. But without further ado, let's get into it and have a look at the Algorithm's wildcard draft. So this is what the Algorithm has been looking at when it's been considering what is the best wildcard draft. And in this case, the Algorithm does look at the next 5 game weeks. And if you want to look at how this draft changes between now and the deadline, you could of course use it over on the Assistant Manager tool over at FantasyFootballFix.com. Links are all down in the description if you want to check out those really awesome tools. But let's get into it and have a look at who the Algorithm selected in goal. And of course, you can see the bench down there. That is quite small, I appreciate. But we'll get on to the players who are down there as we see the rest of the side. But in goal is going to be Nick Pope, which is kind of unsurprising given the fact that Burnley, of course, have 2 double game weeks in the next 3 game weeks. So yeah, that's 5 fixtures, 5 for them in the next 3 game weeks. Of course, the one in 31 doesn't look the most appetizing with the game against Manchester City, but they also face Everton, who have been looking notoriously rubbish lately. And so yeah, we can go for Nick Pope in goal and have a decent chance of at least picking up 1 clean sheet, hopefully. And then in game week 33, they of course face West Ham United and Southampton as well. So some very nice fixtures between now and the end of the season for Burnley. They're ranking very highly on the Fantasy Football Fix fixture analyzer as well, which is another awesome tool you can check out on the website. And so it seems really a no-brainer to go with Nick Pope in goal and have a keeper like as Ramsdale or maybe others who do rotate nicely perhaps with Nick Pope if there are some games where between now and game week 38 you maybe don't want to start the Burnley man between the sticks in your side. So let's get into the defence then, and Kieran Tierney's down on the bench, which means that in the back 4 this side is going to have Cancelo, Roberts, James and Rudiger. So going with a double up on Chelsea, which seems, to be honest, not a lot of people I've been seeing do that. James and Rudiger is more the case been one or the other, with a lot of people opting for James if he's going to be back from injury, and if James isn't going to be back, then perhaps we may be forced to go for Rudiger, but James is obviously the more exciting pick of the two if he is back and ready, which we should know much more about before the deadline, so be sure to keep an eye on that news. And if you want to keep updated on all that kind of stuff, you can make sure to follow the Fantasy Football Fix Instagram page, which you can see the link to in the description too. Roberts comes in to complete a double up in the Burnley backline, which is very interesting considering he's actually only 3rd amongst Burnley defenders for expected FPL points per 90 over the last 10 game weeks. So yeah, Ben Mee and I think Eric Peters are both above Roberts, so maybe it's a price factor coming in with Ben Mee being a little more expensive of course, but Roberts a 4.4 doesn't look too bad a value. Personally, I think there are better options to go for in defense right now, and we perhaps don't need to limit our budget quite as much, given the fact that we're not really going to be able to squeeze 3 of these big premiums in. We're probably going to be going for 2 big premiums in attack, and therefore we can have the budget to spend on these likes of Trent, Reece Jameses, you can see, Cancelos. I think we're going for those in this kind of draft, and that's becoming the more meta as we get towards the end of the season. But a very nice back 4 nonetheless. Cancelo coming back in, I don't think is a bad shout at all. We've seen what Cancelo can do against some of the toughest fixtures in the league, so imagine what he can be doing as he continues to pick up these bonus points and clean sheets. He doesn't even need attacking returns to get these big hauls that he has been showing recently, why you shouldn't really sell him. But then in midfield, we're seeing a midfield 5 actually consisting of course, Mohamed Salah, and then 2 other assets who I really do like the look of in Harvey Barnes and Kai Havertz of Chelsea. So the Chelsea triple up is in, who of course face Brentford at home this week, a very nice fixture for them, and they have a very nice fixture run from now until the end of the season, which is why a lot of people are considering jumping on them on this week or next week wildcard, of course. But yeah, Kai Havertz is my favourite pick of the bunch in the midfield. He's been in fantastic form lately, and it seems a no-brainer if you're going for a Chelsea attacking asset to bring him into your sides. Harvey Barnes versus Maddison is a bit more of a tough one, with Maddison, of course, scoring that fantastic free kick to outscore Harvey Barnes in game week 30, where a lot of people were deliberating which one to bring in, or go with on a free hit. Of course, me with the algorithm team, I took on the algorithm and put them both in my side, which turned out to be quite a nice move, but I do still think that in the long run, Harvey Barnes is the nice option, and a lot of people, of course, considering, not for the Man United game away, although it's not as bad as a fixture as it once was, but of course, Leicester with a lot of rescheduled games, including that game week 33 double game week, where they face Newcastle away and also Everton away. So Newcastle and Everton, two of the weakest sides in the league, down there in a relegation scrap. Everton now, so going for Leicester players and potentially even captaining them in that game week 33 is not a bad shout at all. But of course, we need to be wary of the European rotation that is going to come with it, and that's why, if you can see there down there, Vardy on the bench, I am hesitant to go with him, especially with Harry Kane in such good form, and Vardy been an injured out recently, most likely going to be saved for those European games in a lot of cases. I think going with Harry Kane is the must-do thing if you're on a wildcard draft, but you'll see my team in a minute. Two very interesting picks in the midfield, and perhaps two I'm not going to go with myself, or you're going to see what I have gone with myself in a minute, are Mahrez and Aaron Lennon. So Aaron Lennon, as opposed to going with Wout Weghorst. Of course, we've got 3 Burnley assets in this team already, so Weghorst won't be up front in this side. But then Mahrez as well, who, again, another minutes risk in there, who, when he plays, does look very good, but of course, can't be guaranteed to be playing all that much. Last time I brought Mahrez in was on that free hit in game week 27, where he wasn't playing and then got the 1-pointer. But since then, he's actually pretty much been nailed on, to be fair. He's been scoring very well, very decently. So maybe go for him if you're looking for an out-there punt to try and shoot you up the ranks, but nonetheless, he's not really a straightforward, easy to go for pick. But when you've got decent cover on the bench, like we can see in this side, it's perhaps not the worst idea. But of course, with most cases, you're going to be seeing a lot of 1-pointers with Manchester City attackers that are rotation risks, as Pep does like to bring them off the bench when he does in fact choose to make subs. Sometimes he doesn't choose to make many at all. But then finally, we'll see the forward who's lining up in this side, and it is another Southampton forward to go along with Broja, who you can see at second sub is Che Adams. So teaming up with 2 Southampton forwards. Very interesting indeed. Definitely not sure something I would do at all, but they face Leeds away, which is a very nice fixture now. And of course, the algorithm is considering the fixtures and the projected points over the next 5 game weeks indeed. So not a bad draft overall. I really quite like a look of some of the players, especially I like the looks of Reece James, Kai Havertz, Harvey Barnes. I think excellent picks as well. Some out there interesting ones too, if you're looking for some cheeky differentials that won't be on a lot of people's teams and even wildcard drafts at this point in the season. But I'm going to go away and get my team together and show you what I'm looking at now, how my team is different to this algorithm team that is projected to score 67 points in game week 31. So yeah, let me go away, show my draft to you now, and you can decide which one you think looks better. So this is what I've mocked up as what I were going to go for if I were on a wild card this week. I actually have the exact money for this, so a few of you maybe a bit of cash either side. So there are a few changes that you could potentially make, and a few things that, as mentioned in earlier, you do need to wait on, including the James return, etc. Trent Alexander-Arnold's injury, will he be back in time? There are a few things that could change between now and the deadline, so do bear with regards to that. I also do need to mention the captaincy, just because that is factored into the predicted points totals, of which my draft is predicted to score 62 to the algorithms, as mentioned, 67 points just for game week 31, of course, but we are considering the long term here as well. The captaincy, of course, was on Mohamed Salah for both sides. The vice captaincy for the algorithm was on Nick Pope, whereas my vice captaincy is on Harry Kane, but I doubt it will be needed anyway. But there are quite a few noticeable changes to this side, and in particular, a lot to do with certain personnel in defence, in attack, and a few changes in midfield as well with those players who I thought were perhaps just a little too risque. I've brought in Bukayo Saka for Riyad Mahrez, and then Anthony Gordon as a 4.5 midfield enabler, who I really do think is the best option to go for at such a cheap price. With that double game week, of course, this week as well gives me a chance to get another double game week player in with 2 pretty nice fixtures as well, you'd have to say. I think he's the best Everton asset you can go for, or the best of a bad bunch, we really need to be saying, with the top toffees right now, but that's allowed me to go with some differential players in other areas of the field. So I've gone with Mateta as the third striker and Amati again as another enabler. If Amati continues starting, then perfect. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world. He sat there at the third sub, but he could potentially come in for game week 33 for that double game week if he does manage to keep his place with the return of the likes of Fofana to the Leicester side. There has been a lot of rotation and a lot of confusion around who is going to be playing in the Leicester back line. So I think just going with the cheapest option, using him as an enabler, putting the funds elsewhere should be the best course of action really to go for if you're not willing to take too much of a risk. I've also gone with Schmeichel to partner with Nick Pope. I just really like the look of Leicester's fixtures too, and it also allows me to go with Ben White over Kieran Tierney with some extra funds added into the team once again, into that starting 11, which in most cases has allowed me to upgrade to Harry Kane. That's the most important change from Jamie Vardy, who I think you just kind of have to have in your teams with the form he's in right now. And yeah, he would be one of the first names on my team sheet if I were on a wild card this week. I've also gone with Weghorst instead of going with Aaron Lennon as my attacking Burnley asset. I do just think that it's really Weghorst or no one with regards to Burnley midfielders and forwards. Although his stats haven't looked fantastic over the last couple of game weeks, or really since he's come to the Premier League, I think that that's due to do with Burnley as a whole. And with those extra 2 games over the next 3 weeks, you're of course more likely to see something happening, hopefully, for Burnley in those added minutes as well that you can get the points for. Just the appearance points alone may be worth going with Weghorst as a bit of a punt over the next 3 sort of game weeks. We've also gone with Anthony Gordon, as mentioned, Bukayo Saka, and then we've gone with Trent Alexander-Arnold, which of course has taken a hefty chunk out of the budget, and a lot of those downgrades and enablers, who I think in most cases are even better options, which has allowed me to get the funds to get the best defender in FPL back into my team. Of course, a few injury doubts regarding him. Lots of people thinking it's just a bit of a scam really to make sure that Trent doesn't go away on international duty, and so that Liverpool can keep an eye on him, keep an eye on his recovery if he is seriously injured. But of course, at the same time, a lot of people will be faking, or not faking, but exaggerating injuries so as to not send players away on international duty and risk them getting injured out there. So whether Trent's really injured properly or not will yet to be seen, I guess, but I think that he'll be back for that Watford game personally. I don't have any inside information, but that's just my gut feeling and my hunch from these sort of things in the past. So Trent Alexander-Arnold will be in my draft until the very last minute for a wild card. I would not take him out until we get some concrete news that he isn't going to be playing now already across the next 3 weeks. But I think Trent, you have to have him for that Watford game if he's fit and available. I've also chosen to keep Reece James out of the 2 Chelsea defenders for very similar reasons I mentioned earlier. Just the fact that he is more explosive than Rudiger. He has the much more attacking potential than Rudiger, and of course the same chances of a clean sheet. The only doubts are whether he's returned straight away back into the starting 11, or whether his minutes are managed even more than they were last time he returned back to full fitness. But I think that it is worth the punt with some decent cover on the bench, of course, as well, going for Reece James. But we'll get some more news from Tuchel before we get to the Game Week 31 deadline. Cancelo's also retained his place, and that about wraps up all the changes to this draft. Let me know who you think has the better team down below in the comments. Is it me? Is it the algorithm? Which team would you rather have if you were playing your wildcard ship this week? But yeah, I'm very interested to know as always. But that is going to wrap up Eddie versus the algorithm for this week. Leave a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. It really does help out the channel and is much appreciated to help me see that you guys are enjoying the content. And of course, leave me some constructive feedback down below if you think there's anything I could improve. I'm always looking to try and make sure I'm providing the most valuable content possible for all of you guys who take the time out of your day to watch the videos over here. So thank you everyone for watching. I will see you very soon. Have a good break over the international break, and hopefully we can see the return of football not too far away, and it feels shorter than it is going to drag out to be. But yeah, I hope to see you soon. I'll see you very shortly. Goodbye.